Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining Globant's yearly digital marketing premium web conference, Dmnxt 2021. I hope you all are as excited about today's web conference as we are. I'm Anjum Siddiqui, your host for the day, and I'm joined by my colleague Aditya Pingle,
Hello everyone.
and we, on behalf of Globant, would like to welcome all of you to Dmnxt 2021. Hosted under Globant's homegrown Next series of premium conferences, Dmnxt is a platform for collaboration and knowledge sharing for the digital marketing community. For some additional context, digital marketing is a studio within Globant's engaging experiences pillar that houses other studios like design, gaming, media, OTT, etc. You can read more about the pillars and the studios on Globant website.
After two successful conferences in 2019 and 2020, this year we are back with the third iteration of Dmnxt. And this year's theme is focused on marketing to digital natives, a journey to futuristic marketing. Staying true to the theme of marketing to digital natives, we will deep dive into insights from thought leaders of our industry, learn from their unique experiences. We will also cover the current upcoming trends in DM space and Martech space. Before we get started, we want to make sure that each one of you make the most of this web conference and would like to share a few details. Firstly, we have four exciting topics that are scheduled to take place over 25 minutes, and our experts will answer your questions during the last 4 minutes of each speaker's presentation. Secondly, we have five brilliant speakers lined up today. I would encourage you, all of you, to make the most of this opportunity and ask questions directly. Please type in your questions in the live chat section and not in the comment section. Sharing your questions in the Q&A session will ensure that your question remains queued and answered along with the rest of the questions. Lastly, we may not cover all the questions during the scheduled question and answer session. We will get back to you with all the answers over an email. Now, without further ado, let's start with our keynote speaker, Shivraj Sable. Shivraj, fondly called as Shiv, has a wide range of experience working with niche software development setups, focusing on leading edge technologies as well as transformative digital journeys. He specializes in capacity management and business growth, organization building, delivery management, quality analysis, and control. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Shiv. Hi, Shiv, over to you.
Thanks, Adi. Good evening. Welcome, everyone. I really want to congratulate all of you for attending this, for finding time from your busy schedules for this. This is very important investment that you're making today for your own perpetual growth that you probably get to know eventually how you get value out of this. So I would definitely want to congratulate you to find that pause, find that time, and actually investing this time with yourself, right? So maybe if you can quickly go to the slides. I don't want to take up much time. Sure, there's a lot of amazing content coming after me. So I just want to very quickly introduce the whole aspect of why it is important to even attend these conferences. So let me just very quickly take you there. Are we there? All right, excellent. So folks, to understand what it really means in terms of, you know, the way the industry is moving and why is it that we have to focus heavily on what we hear so much these days, which is digital transformation. Why do we need to understand, and why do we even need to understand what is the future of DM? It's very important to understand the whole landscape. If you see the last 20, 25 years, we're focusing heavily on what we call as digitization, where the whole industry grew up with the whole aspect of digitization, where you used to do certain processes manually, and then you started shifting those processes into digital way of working. You then have another phase, which is another last 5, 10 years, which was more of digital upgrades, where you were working heavily on, let's say, I have an on-prem installation, I want to move it to the cloud. I want to move to microservices. I want to move to the latest version of technology. So there was the digitization, then there was the digital upgrades, and now is the phase where a lot of industries and companies are truly struggling to survive. What they're really looking to do is they're trying to see how they can achieve most of the, let's say, relevance for the next 10 to 20 years, right? If you can go to slide 3, and assume you're probably seeing the cricketing image on this, right? All right. So one of the key things to understand, and this is what I keep mentioning every time that I talk to a lot of new folks, right? If you see what has happened to even cricket as a sport, it has changed. The sport has changed from 5 days to a single day and now to almost 4 hours. What has happened though is that the skills required to be successful have also changed. So whoever the erstwhile champions were may or may not be the most relevant players today. And that is what needs to happen to the industry. Today, a lot of end consumers industry is truly looking for partners who can transform their business, because they're truly looking for people who can look at their business model, look at their business and talk about how to change this completely. They're not looking for just providing fancier web applications, fancier mobile applications, or even fancier marketing campaigns. They're not looking only to dwell on that. What they're really looking to do is to truly find new value, and then how marketing, how production, how engineering plays a vital role in doing this complete end-to-end transformation. So even from a complete digital and cognitive approach that you're going to hear today, I think the key and the most important factor for you to understand is how does whatever you do as part of digital marketing, how is it really impacting the end consumer? How is it truly transforming the existing business for your customers? And that is what is going to keep you relevant for the next 15 to 20 years. So that is very critical, right? So if you see, there are two aspects to this whole digitization as well as digital transformation. It's the organization and it's the people. So with the organization, we are now looking, and you could probably go on to the next couple of slides, Shubham. We are now looking for companies and organizations which can be augmented. We're looking for organizations who can think through, who can really truly go to the next gen in terms of what they can offer with the help of obviously AI, machine learning, but with true, real added value, and not just value which is for the sake of POCs or just for building more brochures on digital transformation. The whole idea is how can we come up with really strong solutions which will keep companies relevant in the next few years. So that is very important. And similarly, for people, it makes a big difference how we move away from technologies. How do we move away from being just pure technologists or pure digital marketers and not really identify ourselves by tools? Unfortunately, a lot of people, when you ask them to introduce themselves today, would say, hey, my name is so and so with so much years of experience in this tool. Maybe I'm a Java developer, maybe I'm a digital marketer, but with this particular tool. That has unfortunately become our identity, and that should not be the case. Your identity should be someone who can think of end-to-end solutions, be it in digital marketing, be it in engineering, but think of end-to-end solutions and think of solutions which can drive new age technologies, right? So if that is your identity, you're now becoming more and more relevant for the future. So what I would recommend is uh, go and research more on digital transformations, on why and what is really changing with the customers' demands. They're not looking just for fancier web apps and mobile apps anymore. So I think I would definitely request all of you to dwell deeper into that. And then, like I said, without taking much time here, I really want to hand it over to the really amazing content that's coming after this. So, Adi and Shubham, back to you. And welcome on board, everyone. Thank you.
You're on mute, Anjum.
Thank you so much, Shiv, for such an astounding introduction to Globant. It is great to introduce our culture, diversity, and the way we are rapidly growing with our digital and cognitive approach. Now let's welcome Kuljit Kavishwar. Kuljit Kavishwar, or popularly known as KK, is the Technical Director of Digital Marketing Studio at Globant. Kuljit spearheads the Digital Marketing Studio initiative at the India PVC and has 20 years of experience in information technology products and service industry. Kuljit's expertise lies in building strategic investment plans, market research, analysis, planning to create the right initiative to enable rapid market expansion, adoption, and growth. Apart from her expertise, she is an enthusiastic and an amazing leader to work with. Before moving on, we would like to convey to those of you who have just joined to type in your questions in the live chat. Hello, KK. Over to you.
Good evening, everyone. And I'm so glad to see the community here from the digital marketing segment. I'm so glad all of you could make it today. Thank you so much for giving us your time. And I hope you find this particular event fruitful. So I'll talk a little bit about the studio, the digital marketing studio at Globant, and then maybe briefly about the topic we intend to cover today and why we chose the topic that we did. So a little bit about digital marketing studio at Globant. Uh, the digital marketing studio, we combine a data driven approach with forward thinking creativity to detect and solve organizations' most pressing, deep rooted challenges, working cross functionally and leveraging technology to design, create, and execute high impact, innovative marketing strategies that satisfy our customers' need to deliver value, all while exceeding our business goals. That's how we define the digital marketing studio. Um, to talk a little bit about this event, so the thought uh, ingrained from we see something called brand loyalty that used to be something companies could rely on to grow and retain customer base. It was driven in the past by cool commercials on TV with catchy jingles that all consumers couldn't get out of their head. But we realized that the younger generation, especially the millennials and the Generation Z cohorts, aren't looking for same media, aren't looking at the same media or the ads that our parents did. So companies that were popular in the past generations are quickly discovering that they need new strategies if they want their brands to appeal to the next generation of shoppers who can easily click and choose from millions of products from around the globe. With this conference, the Dmnxt Premium Web Conference, we have invited the industry experts to talk about marketing to the digitally native and what that means for the companies. And with that, let me hand it over to Aditya to introduce our esteemed speakers.
Thank you so much, Kuljit. This was really insightful. Thank you so much, Kuljit. This was really insightful. Now, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Darshan Radia. Darshan is the head of digital development at Tex SPH Media Limited. He has been 18 years in this techno-functional area and has an experience and passionate about building innovative software products, solutions for the media and advertising domain. He has experience working with global media agencies, tech, edtech providers, and media publishers players across US, Europe, and APAC. His areas of expertise are MarTech, programmatic advertising, monetization, to name a few. Darshan is going to speak on one of the trending topics, ad targeting in the cookieless world. So please join me in welcoming Darshan. Hello, Darshan. Over to you.
Thanks, Aditya, for that introduction, and thank you, Globant team, for inviting me to take you through this very interesting topic on ad targeting in a cookieless world. So, greetings, everyone, wherever you are joining from. I hope you have your coffee, tea, or popcorns with you, but unfortunately, you won't find any cookies because cookies are dying, right? Third-party cookies specifically are dead come 2023. So this is a very, very trending, interesting topic, and this impacts the entire digital advertising value chain. And what I'll be taking you through today over next few minutes is some fundamental concepts, some surface of how this is impacting our industry, both from the buy side of ecosystem and the sales side of ecosystem. So let's get started. Next slide, please. Okay, so what I'll be taking you through, you can move to the next slide. Agenda is already covered. So third-party cookies are dead, and the reason
team is up and running, special officer. There's no problem with the speed.
Sorry for that technical difficulties. So we are back. Third-party cookies are dead. We can move to the next slide. So the reason this is happening is to protect consumers or readers' privacy and respect their rights. Right. So to improve privacy and security across open web, Chrome, Mozilla, and Microsoft have announced initiatives to phase out support for third-party cookies. Now, Google Chrome earlier announced in early 2020 that they'll phase them out by end of 2021, but very recently they extended this deadline to 2023. So by December 22, third-party cookies will not be supported on Google Chrome. Why this becomes most important? Because as per the recent statistics from Statista, the 64% of open web traffic globally comes through Google Chrome, and that becomes much more significant. So let's see what are the cookies. Next slide, please. So the cookies, we all know that cookies are used by publishers, by content providers to understand more about their users who are visiting them. So there are two types, primary types, first-party cookies and third-party cookies. First-party cookies generally help to keep users logged in. Your sessions stay alive as far as the first-party cookies are available. Publishers or content providers can also remember users' preferences, and it also supports site analytics. So what kind of content you are browsing, what is your behavior, all that is made possible by first-party cookies. These cookies are generally dropped by the domain that we are visiting. So if you are visiting xyz.com, then the cookie dropped by xyz.com becomes the first-party cookie. On other hand, third-party cookies are generally used for ad serving and third-party data tracking. It also helps marketers in understanding audience segmentation, profiling, and target those users or retarget those users based on their interactions across the web. These third-party cookies are dropped by third-party domain that you are not directly visiting. So you are visiting xyz.com, but the cookie is dropped by, say, abc.com. Next slide, please. So what is first-party cookie? It is also known as same-site cookie. This is, as I mentioned, like it helps keep users logged in, their sessions alive. It remembers users' preferences and also supports site analytics. One example I can give you is Google Analytics, which is used by most publishers, most content providers. So any cookies dropped by that particular domain that you are visiting, or analytics cookies that are dropped by Google Analytics associated with that domain becomes first-party cookie. Next, third-party cookies. Third-party cookie is generally cookies dropped by any third-party data provider, third-party ad server that is serving any ad on your website that you are visiting. So it could be any content recommendation widget, it could be a data, third-party data tracker, data providers, social embeds, multiple such examples. There are tons of third-party domains that you interact with third-party cookie. This is what will be first-party and third-party data, right? So first-party data is a data that you own it, right? So generally, when you visit any website, any domain, that domain owns your data. Any visitor data, any traffic data, based data, what is on domain, and they are free to track your activities across that website. So all first-party data includes behavioral, CRM, subscription, social, cross-platform, and visitors data. Generally, data providers. These are all third-party data providers or intermediaries. Data coming in from different platforms tracked by partner published site. This
Sorry to butt
third-party
in here,
data
Darshan.
also
I think
includes your
it's a
ad
network
interactions
issue.
too.
Darshan, sorry to
Am
butt in
I
here. It's a network issue.
am I audible now? Okay. So third-party data, I was mentioning about ad interactions, where generally any ad interactions that user do on any website, you are clicking on any ad, landing in through the third-party landing page or redirected page. All that activities or ad interactions are also handled by third-party cookies and third-party data. That said, let's move to the next one. So let's see the importance of cookies. Sure, let me rejoin. Okay, so let's see about importance of cookies in measurement. Next slide, please. So cookies, third-party cookies are mostly used in campaign performance measurement, which is your understanding the campaign performance in terms of impressions, clicks, click-through, conversion data, and understanding consumer journey across all media touchpoints, right? It is also used for user identity. So whether it is your first-party data, identity and device graph, device ID, your cookie ID, geolocation, and even deterministic and probabilistic data identification, whether you are the same user who is returning to that website or if you are a registered user or an anonymous user. all these data is tracked by third-party cookies and becomes much more important for advertisers when it comes to measurement. Next slide, please. So who this will impact. The announcement of Google Chrome phasing out third-party cookies, how does this impact the entire ecosystem? So it impacts definitely all the third-party data providers, measurement and market research companies. It also impacts advertisers, agencies, and us publishers, users in a way, because users are now their privacy is more respected, it is protected, so it is beneficial for users of open web. Programmatic advertising is going to be impacted at some extent, because most of these programmatic advertising campaigns, whether retargeting, targeting, or campaign performance measurement, depend largely on third-party cookies and third-party data. And lastly, the edtech providers, both on the demand side or buy side of ecosystem, as well as sell side of ecosystem, and the data management platform and third-party data providers, all are impacted. Next slide, please. So there are other related topics of interest which are evolving, and there are multiple solutions available to kind of I think you skipped one slide, but I just wanted to call out that there are other solutions which are offered by Google called Flock and Pledge. There is federated learning of cohort, which is Google's solution to enable audience targeting, lookalike audience, and similar audience activation in absence of third-party cookies. There are unified ID solutions or consent management platform and customer data platform as well. But I will not cover those in detail in today's sharing. Impact on publishers is huge. Google did some study a couple of years ago on phasing out third-party cookies, how it impacts publishers. So the revenue or programmatic advertising revenue can fall as large as 52% on an average for and 62% more for kind of news publisher. So that's a data that is published by Google, and it is a huge impact for publishers in their ways to earn revenue in this complex ecosystem. Next. So how does this impact advertisers and both publishers as well? So for publishers, the good news is for first-party data that is owned by publisher is not going anywhere. First-party cookies will continue to be available, and that is where the value of first-party data becomes gold standard. Contextual targeting will become more and more, increasingly more popular, and any initiatives around customer data platform or first-party data management platform that publishers are able to leverage based on their huge volume first-party data is all going to continue to work. But what will be impacted is third-party cookies, conversion tracking, retargeting, device fingerprinting, multi-touch attribution, and cross-device user identification. Now, it is too early to quantify how this will impact, but industry is still figuring out ways to address this specific challenge. Next slide. So is this new Google Chrome phasing out third-party cookies? Not really, because Apple, in fact, announced back in 2017 that they will block all third-party from tracking all users for 24 hours in 2017, back in 2017. Eventually, 2019, Mozilla Firefox came up with similar announcement, and Google Chrome announced in early 2020. And now we have time till end of next year before they completely phase out third-party cookies. And as I mentioned earlier, Google Chrome's global market share is about 64%, according to Stat Counter. Next slide. So what are the solutions available? How does advertiser or publisher address this challenge? Is Google offering any solution to this third-party cookieless problem? So Google did announce a couple of initiatives back in 2020. One is Open Web Standard, which is a consortium of multiple internet giants who are coming together to come up with open web standards, which will protect user privacy as well. They also announced Privacy Sandbox, which was earlier in beta, and now it is available. Like the industry was able to provide their feedback and comment until early this year, but now it is live already. And Chrome APIs, which are like Google Chrome API, which will allow conversion tracking and other campaign performance measurement in absence of third-party cookies. So, in summary, the entire edtech industry, mostly from the advertising standpoint, they will have to depend on either Google Chrome API or publishers who has huge volume first-party data for any conversion tracking or audience insights or understanding the consumer journey across entire marketing funnel. Next slide, please. So key business implications arising from this huge industry disruption, which is trending, and industry is still evolving to understand this. One is definitely the first party data will be gold. It becomes a gold standard. For publishers, federated login becomes more important. So whether users are able to use single sign-on, sign up with their say, Google or Facebook account, all that initiatives will increase and have increased multifold over past few months. Contextual targeting is growing. Third-party data, as we all know, will be dead. The challenges here is more on the programmatic advertising side because that will be hugely impacted. For publishers, opportunity is to kind of build more like a walled garden. But for advertisers, programmatic direct or programmatic guaranteed. So anything on the guaranteed side in programmatic channel will become much more important, even from advertiser standpoint. So they'll be focusing their media spend more towards guaranteed supply, guaranteed audience impressions, rather than non-guaranteed open marketplace kind of activations. Next slide, please. The other opportunity here is having customer data platform or customer 360 platform that most publishers are now investing into because they can build their own walled garden, very similar to Facebook, Amazon, or New York Times, or similar such large giants. And uh, with that, they can control the first party data insights along with demand and supply of their inventory. They can also explore data partnership with advertising ecosystem, the entire buy side of ecosystem, and monetize their first party data much more effectively. On attribution side as well, attribution can offer consumer journey and reporting analytics to advertisers and agency. So marketers, more from advertising standpoint, they will rely on such initiatives, proprietary platforms built by publishers to gain more insights into not only the campaign performance, but also the audience or first party audience consumer journey. Next slide. So is there any alternative to cookies? One might say that yes, device fingerprinting is one way, which actually works in absence of cookies. But device fingerprinting is a complex implementation. It is not always accurate, more probabilistic, and there are multiple parameters that device fingerprinting considers. Next slide. Uh, the other challenge here is browsers are also phasing out or freezing user agent string, which is one of the key property of device fingerprinting. In fact, Google announced this last year, and if I'm not wrong, they already stopped updating their Chrome's browser's user agent component with new strings starting this year. So so that option is also not very attractive now. It is not available, and other browsers like Microsoft Edge or Safari, Firefox, they have also expressed their support for user agents freezing. Next slide. And this becomes my last slide in a summary. Uh, it's a vast topic, broad topic, and industry is still finding ways to navigate through these challenges. If we need to summarize, for advertisers and agencies, they will not be able to leverage any third-party data around audience insights as well as campaign performance. EdTech players, programmatic advertising will hugely depend on Google Chrome API as well as publishers holding huge volume first party data for any conversion tracking or audience insights. We still don't have enough clarity on Google's proposed privacy sandbox solution, how that will work, and what kind of restrictions such APIs will have in terms of what you can track. We don't know that yet. Publishers are increasingly investing on mobile first, digital first, or first party data initiatives, along with unified ID, customer data platform, and first party DMP. And there is a huge opportunity for publishers to build DMP, their proprietary DMP or walled garden, to monetize first party audience data based on guaranteed basis. So with that note, I would conclude my session and sharing. Happy to take up any questions for next couple of minutes, and due to constraint in time, happy to answer those queries later on over email as well. Thank you.
There's a question.
Aditya.
Folks, there's a question. There's a question. Shubham, please put me out of the broadcast. I'm going to quickly ask questions. So then.
Okay, so we have a question here from Divyakant Singh. Will device fingerprinting help in tracking the way we want to compare to third-party cookies? The simple answer is no. Device fingerprinting cannot replicate what benefits third-party cookies give us, right? Device fingerprinting, as I was describing, it works based on many different loosely coupled parameters, and with increasing privacy, user privacy laws across different regions, device fingerprinting is diluted in terms of what data it can provide us. So happy to share more details, but a quick answer is no, it cannot replace third-party cookies or the way third-party cookies is helping the entire ecosystem. Any other question?
Yes. So Amir Ehtesham Ali asks, what are challenges for data providers?
Hey Mir, thanks for that question. So challenges for data providers is multifold again. So there are the entire data management platform or data providers, third-party data providers, their ecosystem is built on partnering with multiple players to source that data. So third-party cookies or third-party data is involved heavily in such kind of ecosystem. And the way they will now navigate is implement identity solution to map the first party data coming in from publisher side with what data they already have coming in from multiple various sources. So industry is also currently working on or various identity solutions are emerging. Like there is one from the Trade Desk, which is UID 2.0, an open source identity solution, very widely being adopted in APEC region. There is another commercial solution, ID5, which is a paid one. And IAB Tech Lab in US, they are working on a framework, which they'll probably publish very soon, which will address this specific challenges for data providers as well. And the challenge is similar, not only data providers, but for the entire edtech ecosystem players. Thanks for that question.
No more questions.
Wow, that was phenomenal, Darshan. It was an insightful topic. Lots to learn from you and take back home. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge with all of us here today. Very thank you, man. Anjum?
Moving ahead, let's welcome our second speaker, Kulvinder Singh. Kulvinder is the Chief Marketing Officer at SG Analytics. Kulvinder has over 2 decades of experience in globally competitive technology, consulting, and pharmaceuticals. He has a proven track record of success in developing brands, setting up and leading marketing and communications teams, negotiating service deals, and managing critical partnerships. Not to forget that he is a TEDx speaker as well as an active speaker in industry conferences worldwide. Hi, Kulvinder. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. Over to you.
Thank you, Anjum. Appreciate you introducing me to the platform, and I also want to thank all the people who took efforts, whether it's Fahad, Ninad, KK, to get me here. I sincerely appreciate that. And this is a wonderful platform where one can share, one can learn, and one can co-create and collaborate. So this is a wonderful platform, a great initiative. I'm very happy. Darshan spoke some very interesting insights. Darshan, we need to connect after this meeting as well. Very, very insightful thing. So thank you. I am going to dwell into a topic which most of us kind of, as a marketeers, grapple with, which means how the customer journey maps will improve the customer experience. This is something, whether you're a digital marketer or you've been a marketer 20 years ago, you would have kind of grappled with this issue all the time, and more so in the digital era. So, Shubham, we can move to the next slide. Got it. All right. So here you get to see a boy, and he has extended his invitation for his birthday to all of us. All right. And Aman happens to be my son. So I thought I would leverage that part, that if his birthday falls on March 7th, and if I have to invite all of you guys for that birthday party, and what would you be grappling with? Saying, okay, it's someone's birthday party. We need to carry a gift for him. What are his likes and dislikes? His interests, his hobby, what's his age? What's his educational background? What is he studying? What's the place that he's going to have a birthday party? What did he get last year? How many gifts did he get last year? And who all were there for the birthday party? If you don't have these data points, there's no way that you would be able to choose a gift which is inappropriate and you can bring the aha moment for Aman. And it happens similarly for a customer. A customer who comes, if he doesn't get what he's looking for, you will not be able to give him aha moment. Shubham, we can move to the next one. So we will use a normal journey, a customer map that we kind of been studying and practicing all the time. We can draw an actual customer map saying, why would Aman like the gift that you will carry? That's purely from the awareness perspective. So will he like a stream game, which is League of Legends, or will he like a Grand Theft Auto V? These are probably the big ones which are around. But at the same time, you would be thinking, all the point that I kind of mentioned in the previous slide, that is he the age group, in that age group, who's playing it? Is he having Alienware, a machine that where he can play such games as well? Is he capable of that? Is he inclined towards that? All that part. And then you will see it, if he doesn't have stream, what other platform that he will use it. Okay. The last part, I mean, you'll go ahead, you will do a competitive research in terms of from where to buy, where you can get a good deal. But the last part would be, when he will be able to use the gift, will he be able to talk about it to his friends, saying, hey, those were wonderful gifts given to me by Darshan uncle, or Anjum Didi got it for me, or Fahad gifted this for me. Will he actually bring that moment for his friends? Will he talk to his cousins? And he's saying, you know what, people who came for the birthday party were great. Why I thought of bringing a small story for all of us is, this is what we all have to think all the time. A customer comes in, any platform he's come in, is he getting what he needs? That's one part of it. But is he going back also with that aha piece or not? Shubham, we can move to the next one. So coming back, I mean, I'm just taking a step back, and we're going to leave the Aman story there. Probably we'll bring it towards the later part of it. What do our customers need today? All of us as a marketeers think on these lines and keep on kind of discussing, deliberating, reading reports, talking to our customers, talking to our sales folks, talking to teams that actually interact with customers, to get into the mind of the customer. That's the first part of it. Second part, what actions will the customer take tomorrow? Which means as the influx of, whether you call it MarTech or any form of new technology that has come in the digital form, are we as marketeers ready to support their journey in terms of whether the service that has been rendered by your firm, or the product that they are using it, are they actually using, getting the benefit of it? So this is a very, very critical part, I personally believe, as a marketer, you need to think of when you think of drawing the customer journey maps. Having said that, I also want us to keep a couple of things in mind, which is, these are probably a little, kind of not so positive piece, as much as we say that, is this is a customer-centric world. So it is our job to anticipate their needs and quickly adapt. I want an example, in fact, in my previous avatar, when we were working for a financial services company, we felt that we had to use certain platforms to track the customer journey. In one of the platforms, we felt it is more personal, and people generally, you don't need to tell your story out there, because people will probably share their pictures, personal pictures. They will share their personal moments out there, and that's not meant for them. However, when we were talking, and this is, I think, a very important part of when we draw customer journey maps, we figured out that a weekend with the family, when they're working for a financial services, they had disposable income. They were having great vacations. They were going for a ski, to Colorado, and he wanted to put those pictures onto his personal account on a different platform. And my account management and sales team felt that that's not a platform where I can bring an influence for him. I mean, that's the piece that was a good insight that came in. And Was that a platform where it could kind of influence him? Yes, absolutely. Was that a deal clincher? Probably not, but it made an impact in terms of the movement from informed to influence section of it. And the last part, which I feel is very, very important, the digital disruptors are raising the bar. So whether you use a cab service, whether you use a food platform in any part of the world, they are providing a phenomenal customer journey. The way they kind of track a customer. So if you have one of such products onto on your device, and you move from Pune to Mumbai, Mumbai to New York, New York to Charlotte, Charlotte to Dallas or to London, you actually can use the same platform. But how do they track it? That's the whole key about it. And that actually puts pressure on marketers who are probably working on the more straight jacket rules which they have it. So that's the thing which is coming in, and they're setting up new standards for customer journeys. Shubham, we can move next slide. All right. Usually, when we draw customer journey maps, these are 6-7 steps that one would take, probably 8 steps as well, where we think if the journey has been a great journey, customer will come back. So right from awareness to interest, to deliberation, to evaluation, purchase, service, loyalty, and repurchase, which means the customer comes back for probably 2 or 3 reasons. One reason would be that he got what he was looking for. The second would be probably you exceeded the expectation of the customer. And I think that thing has changed in a way. And Shubham, we can move to the next slide. Thank you. Now I feel in the last probably about 4 or 5 years, the customer journey mapping has become of the story of the customer experience rather than customer acquisition or customer influence. So when I say it has become a story of customer experience, how are they kind of having a touch, feel, experience brand or the product or the service at any given touch points? So I'm sure we all kind of get a chance to go for the weekend or take our friends or families out to have a cup of coffee. And there are players who are kind of competing in that space. We all know that. But a loyalty kind of go into particular brands. And the reason that is because the moment you enter the door, the experience given to you, whether you are asked to be on the table and then probably somebody comes and asks you for the preferences that you have it, or you stand in a place where you get to see the whole menu out there and the guy out there on the counter helps you to choose, even if you're there for the first time. And then once you actually are on your seat, how things get delivered. So it's all about, one aspect of that is that, from a marketer person would be thinking there, I'm tracking the customer journey part of it, the touch point that I'm kind of influence and have a larger mind space out there. But the second part, which is equally important, is the experience part. How is the customer experiencing that product or the service that has been rendered to that? That probably kind of makes a different people would or a customer would probably take note of that and share and talk about it. The other piece which that I want to talk about, which is very important, we all probably have different roles that we account. People have moved into marketing from sales roles, from operations roles, or been into marketing itself, or from comms role, probably would have moved to a marketing role. I have realized there is no one way to create a customer map, a journey map. So it differs from product to product, industry to industry, and even in that product line also, how are we kind of positioning or selling the product to, or giving, or rather offering the product? Your customer journey map can differ from that. And when I say that part, it is important purely from a perspective that um, the touch points can be lesser than which normally process say that 7 or 8. Some people probably want to have 3. Some people probably want to have just 4 touch points, and I feel that that is good enough for them to kind of draw the map, and they can kind of deliver the experience to a customer in a manner that they will kind of go for the product, or they'll make the whole journey of the customer easier than that. The while we kind of develop the customer journey maps, one of the things that I've realized, and this is purely an experience over the last decade or so, that many a times we feel, and we are very adamant about it as well, that this is a great touch point. Somebody in this team itself, well, they're very possessive about it. They have developed, it could be a process, it could be a Levi point that you have it with you. They feel that it is a great point, and they don't want to kind of miss on that point. And that could be an inefficient point where you would lose that customer. That's a thing. That's the responsibility comes in. That's where the responsibility comes in, to ensure that the touch points, because it help save not only the marketing budget, but also help you to focus on the touch point which is giving you better results. So the last part, which is an important part, I have also seen, and whether you're a product firm or a service firm, irrespective of that, again, there is a shift happening. We used to be earlier saying, let's have a plan strategy which is focused around companies, which means that company is a target. That I think is kind of being from there to saying that particular guy is a customer, and we want to have a customer-based approach rather than a company-based approach. This is probably one of the biggest shifts which is happening in with the influx of MarTech, and this is phenomenal. I mean, people are tasting phenomenal success from that as well. Shubham, we can move forward. So we spoke about the customer journey maps. Now, if we want to ensure that there is great customer experience in that journey itself, there are a few that I've thought of putting it out and people to kind of take a note of that. I realized that it is very important to bring the emotional part of it, the emotions part of it. Whether how would you visualize the whole experience in terms of the customer journey, and then you evaluate again, saying, hey, these are the touch points where the guy or the customer who coming in going to have a wonderful experience, and they're going to kind of move to the next step or have a transition from that. But having said that, if there is a point that which is not delivering the value, you can innovate. You can bring a change in that point itself. And this is probably one of my favorites, which is keep it more simpler. The movement, I'm sure all of us who visit retail stores, superstores as well, you would find many times they will change the journey of the customer in terms of the way they come in, and they guide customers to move into a particular space, a particular aisle. Okay. That done, keeping that in mind, not necessarily kind of promote a particular product or a particular brand, but that's actually inside they've got it, and they want to make it more simpler. I mean, we all go to large conferences, summits, and events. You will see that there is always a path they will guide you to move in a particular manner, because it has to serve the purpose. That is the key itself, that they want to keep it simpler, and probably it could be in incremental order. It could be in the other way as well, vice versa. That's one of the things that they keep in mind. And the last part, which is the emotions part, it is very important to empathize with your customer, which means if somebody has come through the whole journey, customer mapping journey, and your communication, your touch points need to ensure that you kind of respect the journey itself. It's not necessary that it has to materialize into some form of revenue at that moment itself. Despite that, because you want him to have a great customer experience, to go back with that great feeling, aha moment, and come back to you. And that happens. We all know that at multiple times, many times you put efforts, put dollars out there, and the convert probably happens probably 3 months from now, 6 months from now, because the gestation period is that, and there could be a number of reasons that the customer would have changed the preferences at that moment, and it could be a change of strategy, change of the budgets. There could be multiple reasons that can act like that. Shubham, we can move forward. This is what I thought I should kind of also touch upon, which is what's happening. So whether you get to see the image side of it or the text, the new customer journeys, what is happening is, earlier it used to be very linear. These have become non-linear. So you right from awareness to consideration to purchase part, if you need, one has to shorten the process itself. You can see that the moment it is not necessarily it's going to go in the particular manner, like it has to move from 1, 2, 3 aspect of it, and it is the order that one would take it. It differs from device to device, platform to platform. It differs in the manner that who is seeing it as well, and what time the person is experiencing or your product or service. It is, as I spoke about, it differs from industry to industry as well, because of the business models. It could be from the pricing perspective. It could be from the audience perspective. So these are the new journey maps that one is thinking of. So I was deliberating with something like that when I took up this role with my team as well, and we were thinking on the same line, saying, if we were to draw the customer journey maps to ensure a great experience to our customers, how would we do it? And believe me, when we did the workshop, we figured out these parts, which is saying these are non-linear. There are no linear models or journeys anymore. One can think of it. One can devise a strategy keeping those in mind, but one needs to kind of innovate, change, adapt very fast, because you will have real-time data coming into you. While we were deciding the topic as well, Fahad was very, very instrumental in talking to me about this part as well, that what topic that we should talk, which can kind of have a wider audience reach. And he was very helpful in kind of shortlisting this part. Shubham, you can move forward, please. So when I said the journey maps, customer journey maps are important, and how it can improve customer experience. When I looked at some data point, I thought it was very important for me to bring it here and talk to all of us, young peers or digital. And this is something very relevant and kind of stands out. I'm sure we all know that, not that we're not aware of it, but customers judge the quality of experience based on 3 elements, which is the easiness of that process, how enjoyable was that process, and how effective. When I say effective, it's not necessarily was the focus, which is on sell, probably on tell. That was the kind of a thing. Enjoyable could be it was not necessary to inform but to influence. So these are probably the themes that while we kind of think of drawing these customer journey maps, these are things that we need to keep in back of mind as well. Now, this is something I felt was a very, very kind of a number that that almost kind of threw me off my chair. So this is a data point which is done by a firm, a very, very recent firm, that 80% of the companies think that their customer experience is phenomenal. And when a firm actually experienced interviewed or surveyed the customers, only 8%. Only 8% customers said that they had a great experience in those firms. So you can see the gap out there is huge, which means the firm is thinking that they are actually offering a great experience to, it could be an onboarding experience, it could be a sales process, or whatever process that one is thinking of. They feel, most of the firms said their focus on customer experience is great, and they feel that the customers are having a great experience itself. And customer themselves said they rated them on 8%. It's a stark thing, hitting in the face itself, saying that this is what the reality is. And that's where I think the challenge comes to all the young marketeers or all of us. So one of the part which I also realized from that report itself is saying, how are customers, if they don't have a great experience, how long do they take to dump the brand? So many times they said, okay, given a choice, most customers will switch brand after a single bad experience. And you can relate to your personal experience. Probably you would have ordered a great food on a Saturday afternoon from a particular restaurant that you thought was a great food, and you didn't have a great experience. You would probably, even if that pops in again and again on your platform, you would not go for that, because that one experience actually has made it the whole difference for you. I'm sure it could be probably a cab service, it could be a theater, it could be software, it could be any form. Some stores, in fact, you would not visit the stores itself if you don't have a great experience. That's one part. While that's purely on the B2C side of it, but on the B2B, they say generally it takes about to stay away. If they have one bad customer experience, they would like to stay a couple of years away from that brand, and then probably reconsider, relook at it, saying, all right, one bad experience, we had it, and let's look at it. But for those, at least for those 24 months, imagine the kind of the energies that they will be kind of using to ensure to win that customer back, because the customer had a not so positive experience out there. Shubham, can we move forward, please? Yeah, there now. I'm towards the later part of my deck. These are just a few takeaways. These are pure personal experiences that I'm sharing here, and I feel that this can help many of us here. Saying when we draw the customer journey maps, and we want to include the customer experience part of it also, one needs to be very, very clear in terms of what one needs to accomplish, one wants to accomplish, and it can take probably weeks, some time to talk to people and talking to different stakeholders. In fact, that's very important part of it, that you need to talk to different stakeholders and get the whole sense of it. And once you have a clarity in terms of what we want to accomplish, second part is whose journey are we mapping? It's very important. Multiple personas that we create to target when we have marketing dollars with us, but who are we targeting in terms of whose journey are we mapping? It's very important. When I said do the research, talk to people, in fact, in talking to the customer and doing a workshop with them is one of the key things. I personally believe this has helped me personally in the last decade or so, where you get to speak to a customer and those insights helps you to actually form your customer journey maps. Um, this is again a thing that has come, which is design matters. Absolutely, it matters. In terms of your team's design thinking is probably the key. And personas, journey maps, it they have to look good, because when you need to kind of talk to your internal stakeholders that this is how the whole transition going to be, and this is how we're going to talk. It needs to be, it has to look cool. It has to make sense. It should be easy to understand as well, because from touch points to where transition happening from one step to second step. Um, I've covered this point to you with you guys, saying that please socialize, talk to people across businesses. So people talk to, support functions, talk to front end functions, speak to operations, speak to the delivery people, and do talk to them and have the insights from them, consult with them as well. Take the last part, which is, in while doing that itself, there'll be a lot of low hanging fruits for you to kind of go after, kind of go pluck it and eat it and enjoy it. There are kind of things that one needs to do to fix that you can do it, but in while doing the customer journey maps to improve the customer experience, don't go too much into the analysis paralysis kind of a perspective. This is my way of doing it, because many times the difference between a great marketing team to an average marketing team is that they were thinking too much and not executing it, while the other person probably had kind of went ahead and learned from it, took the corrective action, and moved on. Shubham, we can move forward. That's the last part. I just want to kind of leave you guys happy. Last 18, 20 months been not so good for all of us, but I still want to bring smile on everybody's face. And I'm open for any questions that we might have.
One minute. So there was one which Arnosh had asked. I've already sent it to Anjum. I'll read it out for you. 1 minute, please. So Arnosh asks, "Hi Kulvinder, what tools do you use to create customer journey?"
Question from Arnosh. So there are multiple tools, Arnosh, you can use to draw these, customer journey maps. But so there is no one rule. What I did about 10 years ago are not necessarily applicable now. So there are two studies that is done by Mark Roosh. He is a prof with the Ross School of Marketing, and a very young dashing marketeer that I kind of follow, and he has developed a model. I can share that paper with the team. That's something that you can use. That's one thing which I've used, but there is not one platform, one tool. No, I haven't used one. Probably role by role, probably one has changed, and taken the learning from the past to kind of spruce it up, prune it up, kind of thing.
There's another question from DK.
Okay, there's a question that has come, which is saying how flexible should be your customer journey model as market is so dynamic. So I would keep it, it needs to be 70-30. 70% would be the static or the predictable journey that you would keep it. But 30% you would keep it where you can tweak, we can change, alter. It could be, because of the circumstances, because of the environment, geopolitical pieces as well. You want to kind of budget that. But 70-30 is the model that I would keep it.
Nope, nope, nothing.
Thank you so much, Kulvinder. That was a brilliant and knowledge-packed presentation.
Next, we have Fahad Sheikh, Technical Lead Digital Marketing at Globant. Fahad has 10 plus years of experience in marketing, inside sales, business development, and account management. He is a full stack digital marketer and an expert in marketing automation and email marketing. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Fahad. Over to you, Fahad.
Am I audible? Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining the session. I hope you all enjoyed the informative sessions by Darshan and Kulvinder. And Darshan, Kulvinder, thank you once again for sharing your experiences and knowledge. I think looking at the comments on YouTube Live, that were coming in, I'm sure that a bunch of folks have really learned a lot from your session. So really appreciate you all taking out the time to share your experience at Dmnxt 2021. Once again, everyone, good evening. My name is Fahad Sheikh, and I'm the technical lead at the digital marketing studio at Globant. And keeping up with the theme of marketing to digital natives, the topic for my session is the rise of customer data platforms in MarTech. And one of the reasons why I thought it would be a good idea to really talk about CDPs or customer data platforms is because of the increased interest and traction that we are seeing amongst marketers globally. And I think having said that, I've also realized that a lot of individuals know, or a lot of marketers know about CDPs, but they don't really understand, I think, how important CDPs will become over the next few years to come. And I think that's because MarTech technology, it has been evolving very rapidly, and the pandemic as well had an aspect to play in this. A lot of customer data was brought in due to the pandemic, and the way Kulvinder spoke about customer journeys and the way things were changing during the pandemic. And I think marketers then have come to realize that leveraging that data was not taking place, as much as it should have. So that's one of the things, or the reasons why I thought it would be a good idea to really speak about, CDPs. And obviously, it's a little bit unsurprising that CDPs are on the verge of moving from good to have platforms to must have or need to have platforms. And this is especially true since a major chunk of marketing budgets these days, at least when we talk about, let's say, the e-commerce or the consumer industry, those are being put in for implementing CDPs. And I will talk about some of those data points as we move ahead during this session. And I think more importantly, we've also interacted with a lot of CMOs, a lot of senior marketing stakeholders who really want a unified view of customer data. And it's much easier said than done, right? You really can't basically pull together information or data from multiple sources and just stitch it together and provide a unified customer experience. So with the sudden rush of of digital transformation and marketing transformation as well. I think CDPs have gained a lot of traction in the past 18 odd months, and they will continue to become more important as we move ahead. All right, so moving to the slide of the agenda, what we will cover today will basically, first, even before we talk about the rise of CDPs, we will try to look at the definition of what a CDP is, the types of CDPs, and some key differences between CRMs, DMPs, other marketing automation platforms, because it's important to really understand the basics before we really talk about why we should really have CDPs implemented in the MarTech ecosystem within an organization. From there, we'll then obviously get into details of what led to the rise of CDPs since, I would say, the year 2016. As I mentioned, we'll look at a few details in terms of the industry numbers. And from there, then what is in store for CDPs in the current year and basically 2021 and beyond. All right, so moving on to the next slide, let's quickly jump into the details of what a customer data platform or a CDP is. So if you really look at the definition that is provided by the CDP Institute, is that so CDPs are basically packaged software that creates a persistent and unified customer database that is accessible to other systems. And some key attributes of this definition obviously is that first, it's packaged software. It's basically procured and controlled by marketeers or the marketing department. And what this really, what distinguishes CDPs from other platforms, like let's say a data warehouse or a data lake, is that data warehouses and data lakes are procured by corporate IT, and marketers don't really have control on such systems, right? So that's one attribute of a CDP. The second one is creating persistent and unified customer databases. And this is really core at the core of what a CDP is, where a CDP essentially provides a comprehensive view of each customer within the CDP, and this is done by capturing data from multiple sources, multiple systems, linking that information together, and more importantly, tracking customer behavior over time across multiple channels, right? And we know that CRMs, they basically have a unified view, but I think tracking behavior and pulling information together and stitching that information, which also provides some sort of predictive analysis or predictive segmentation of which customers to target. That's not what a CRM could do. So that's how CDPs have come into the picture. And more importantly, CDPs deal with PII or personally identifiable information. And due to this, CDPs have to comply with regulatory compliance, right? And these days, all of us know, all of us talk about GDPR, all of us talk about CCPA. So that's an important aspect when it comes to compliance that CDPs really deal with. And finally, the last part of the definition includes that it is accessible to other systems. So CDPs can be used by other systems for analyzing or managing customer interactions with specific brands or specific organizations. And CDPs also restructure data, and some of them really add certain scores, which can then be moved on to or integrated with other systems. So that's essentially what the definition of a CDP is. Now, looking at the types of CDPs, there are a number of companies out there that really position themselves as full suite CDPs, but there are certain segments within the industry, and some of them include, the first one is obviously data CDPs, where these systems essentially gather customer data from source systems, link that data to certain customer identities. So if you typically look at how a CDP works, each CDP has a customer identity or some sort of a unique ID that is tied to each customer, and that's an important part, right? Because you're dealing with probably millions of records of customer data. So that's an important part of having one unique customer identity. And so yeah, that's what data CDPs do. And this is essentially a minimum set of functions that is required for any platform to really meet the definition of a CDP. And some of the major or identifiable, or I would say major companies in this category are Blue Shift and Telium. And the second one is analytic CDPs. So these systems provide data assembly as well as some sort of analytical applications on top of providing the base functionality of a CDP. And these applications always include customer segmentation, and sometimes they do also extend to modern technologies like AI or ML or some sort of predictive modeling or revenue attribution kind of aspects. The third one is campaign CDPs, and these systems provide data assembly, analytics, and customer treatments. And what distinguishes these the campaign CDPs from the rest is that they can specify different treatments for different individuals within a segment. So you can really have highly personalized campaigns targeted to very specific individuals. That's because CDPs hold very rich data within that platform, and those treatments could be in the form of personalized messages or real-time interactions. I think this is one thing that is also important, that real-time interactions are also possible because you're looking at channels such as mobile applications or certain web apps where you can really interact with your customers based on their behavior. And so yeah, that's what campaign CDPs are. And the last one obviously is delivery CDPs. Products in this category, they often started off as delivery systems more than CDPs as such, but then eventually they added some CDP functionality at a later point. All right. So now that we have the basic definition out of the way, let's quickly look at what is the difference between these systems. So if we look at the next slide, some of the common systems that a lot of marketers use is, and especially if you talk about the B2C segment, you typically will come across CRMs, DMPs, which are data management platforms, which obviously Darshan also mentioned during his session. And then you have CDPs on the other hand. So the way these are basically, if you really talk about how they are placed within your ecosystem. So CRMs obviously exist at the bottom of the funnel, and they are in fact one of the sources that can be integrated into a CDP. And CRMs obviously aid in the creation of custom identities. So that's an important part. The second one is DMPs, or data management platforms, which basically sit further up the funnel, and their data, which is, I would say, generally siloed, can also be integrated or ingested into a CDP. And DMPs are, if you really look at the use cases of DMPs, it is more, they're typically used in the ad space or the advertising space, or maybe digital advertising space. And customers of DMPs typically are brands who want to target more customers, or basically want to increase their reach. So DMPs basically provision data for ads, while CDPs on the other hand can manage all-rounded campaigns that involves both push as well as pull of data, right? So these are some basic aspects when you're talking about the differences between these three platforms. Use cases I mentioned, if you look at the data types, obviously CRMs or generally deal with the first-hand information, or the marketing team typically has that information and uploads that information into CRMs. DMPs basically manage both primary, secondary, as well as tertiary data. But I think more importantly, with the CDP, while it has primary, secondary, and tertiary, it involves a personally identifiable information, which makes it, as I said earlier, dealing with compliance becomes an important thing. If you look at the next slide, and if you really talk about the features and how CDPs are you could say distinguish themselves from a CRM, a DMP, and other marketing automation platforms. So what I've done over here is there are basically 8 attributes that I've listed down. And CDPs, obviously they cater to all of these 8 attributes. And I think the closest that any other platform comes to these would be either a DMP or a data warehouse. And obviously DMPs and data warehouses have their own limitations, right? You can't really deal with multiple channels, or you can't really have real-time interactions with your customers when you're talking about you know, multiple campaigns across multiple channels. That's what you know. That's how. Those are some of the key differences or the key attributes between most of these platforms that we talk about. And a lot of times, a lot of marketers confuse CDPs to be nothing but, you know, a glorified version of marketing automation, and that's not true, because um, marketing automation does not really have ultra granular data. The marketing automation does not consist data of specific transactions. You know, again, you cannot have real time interaction across channels through marketing automation. Yes, CDPs. What CDPs do at their core is you know, a lot to do with marketing automation as well. You know, it's important to know the differences and why CDPs, you know, that's one of the reasons why CDPs even, you know, rose to fame, because of the way they distinguish compared to marketing automation. All right. Now moving on to slide 6, and really, you know, getting into the main subject of what really led to the rise of CDPs. Um, so CDPs, I think, first appeared on the scene in the year 2016. That's where Gartner publishes the hype cycle every year, and in the hype cycle for marketing and advertising, so 2016 was the year when CDPs appeared under the innovation trigger, and 29. So if you really look at how they've kind of moved or transitioned from 2016 to 19, 20, 21. 2019, they were placed under the peak of inflated expectations, which really meant that marketers were expecting much more from CDPs than what they could actually deliver. And if you look at really what happened this year, so between 2019 to 2021, this year they are placed in the trough of disillusionment, with another 2 to 5 years to reach the plateau. I think what's important is that while we still may be about, you know, at the most 5 years away from CDPs really reaching the plateau, it's really important to understand two aspects. One, CDPs have already, like I said earlier, you know, become a part of the must-have tools within the MarTech ecosystem, and CMOs really these days value, you know, having CDPs as part of, you know, an important platform in their marketing arsenal. So they will definitely reach that point. But um, uh, the other thing that you know, we can infer from this is that a lot of other systems do not really reach that point. I mean, how often do you come across, or, you know, in the past 5 years, how often would you really, or what kind of platforms can you really think of that have become must-have tools within, you know, the MarTech or the marketing ecosystem? So it will be interesting to see how this evolves over the next 2 years. And they obviously, you know, times are interesting for CDPs. And if we look at the next slide, which is more of an extension of the current slide, so 2016 again, the screen grabs that you see in this slide are from the chief martech infographic, and the year 2016 is where you know, again, there were about I would say 18 odd or 16 odd CDPs that were on the scene. Most of them were very niche offerings, and if you really look at what has happened, you know, since 2016, the second screen grab is from the year 2020, where there were over I don't know, about 100 odd or more than 100 companies, or I'm sorry, 80 odd companies that appeared in the Chief Martech super graphic. As of today, 2021, so as of 30th of June 2021, as per the CDP Institute, there are over 150 companies that position themselves as CDPs. And what's important or what's noteworthy is that major tech giants like, you know, the Salesforce or the SAPs or the Oracles of the world have taken notice of this, and they have in fact come up with their own offerings. So, you know, that really further justifies or further corroborates that see how important CDPs are, you know, becoming, and how quickly they've really reached that point. In fact, if we look at, you know, the acquisition data, about Twilio purchased an organization by the name of Segment for $3.2 billion in the year 2020. And we typically see these kind of numbers when obviously competition is increasing, and when larger organizations want a piece of the pie, right? In fact, even if you look at Dun and Bradstreet, they had acquired an organization by the name of Lattice Engines. Informatica again picked up a company by the name of an organization which goes by the name of Allsite. And not only these, in fact, Mastercard, which is in the space of DFSI, they themselves picked up an organization named Session M. So it's not really marketing or ad tech companies that are trying to get into this segment. Companies like Mastercard are also taking notice, and even they are wanting to be a part of this interesting evolution of how of Martech. All right. Now moving on to slide 8. Here is where we talk about the trends that really led to the rise of CDPs. So if I talk about the first trend, it's really I spoke about this during the beginning of the presentation. It is about unfulfilled requirements for a single customer view, and various technologies in the market really used to make claims of fulfilling customer demands, but none of these platforms were really able to provide enough information on customer journeys. And obviously Kulvinder spoke about that, and in fact none of them were able to really even provide a unified view of customer the customer data. Yes, a lot of platforms were able to offer partial or maybe one or two dimensions of the customer data or of the customer journey, but none of them were really able to provide that unified view. So that's one of the first things that led to the rise of CDPs. And the second trend was the enterprise foundation service-based architecture model. Now, enterprises, obviously, they must focus on customer journey decisions, customer data, as well as segments, and even omni-channel content platforms, right? Hence, CDPs demand more consideration in the context of the service-based architecture model. And I will touch upon this in the forthcoming slides, where I will speak about how CDPs will evolve from where they are currently. The third trend was data commoditization and enclosed gardens. Darshan spoke about walled gardens. So, we all really know of what walled gardens or what enclosed gardens are we talking about. So as the data pool is getting bigger, the ability to differentiate brands is obviously getting more harder, right? And marketers will remain increasingly reliant on marketing and advertising opportunities by the big walled gardens or the big enclosed gardens. So CDPs obviously will play an essential role in several organization or enterprise advertising campaigns. In fact, CDPs will get even more important in advertising, as we are seeing massive volumes of data since the pandemic began. And the last trend is the rapid expansion of CDP use cases. So like I said, this was trending in about 2019, and it continues to be a trend in 2020 as well. Several use cases, including advertising. I spoke about omni-channel or predictive analysis. Different kinds of outbound marketing campaigns are coming to the forefront, which is helping CDPs grow exponentially. And all these trends will continue both in the B2B as well as the B2B space, B2C space. I'm sorry, as other enterprises continue to turn their attention towards CDPs. And obviously, if you speak about what kind of organizations are using CDPs, the likes of Uber, Amazon, Facebook, and even Google, for that matter, are already using CDPs to deliver personalized experiences at scale. From whether that's from personalized commerce or personalized transportation, as well as personalized hospitality, right? So that's what led to the rise of CDPs. Moving on to the next slide, if we talk about some numbers in terms of the CDP industry growth. I did mention earlier that a lot of marketing budgets these days are being kept aside for CDP. So if you look at how many CMOs or how many marketing teams had implemented or were in the process of implementing a CDP, that number has consistently gone up. And whereas if you look at the top portion of it, um, the number of individuals who probably did not know, or the number of marketers who did not know about CDPs or had no plans to implement CDPs, that number has consistently come down. And CDP budgets are estimated to increase by more than 25% in the next 5 years to come. I spoke about in my previous slide about the number of companies in the CDP space. So there were about an addition of about 20 odd companies in the first half of this year. Um, if I speak about funding alone, I mean $550 million or $500 million of funding in 2020 is a big thing. And I think a lot of these, if I speak geographically, Asia Pacific, in fact, is coming up as a geography where a lot of this funding is going. A lot of, in fact, a couple of noteworthy companies have been founded in the Asia Pacific region, and I think if you really speak about North America, Europe, they have a number of companies in the CDP space, and now Asia Pacific is kind of catching on or playing that catch up game. If you speak from a regional perspective. All right. Now, moving on to the next slide, which is what happens from 2021 and beyond. All right. So first and foremost, CDPs will move from customer data platforms to customer experience management. What this essentially means is there will be a lot of focus on how experiences are being delivered at scale. So, this is an important aspect that a lot of CDPs will take note of, and they will evolve their story around experience management in the months and the years to come. I did mention that CDPs will play a critical role in the digital advertising story. Companies are, ad tech companies are already taking note, and they are, ensuring that CDPs are being used to the fullest for their campaigns. So, that's one of the things. CDPs will move to expand into areas like personalization and consent management. I did mention this very briefly. So consent management will be a very important part that they will continue to look at very closely, especially with, like I said, GDPR and CCPA kind of aspects that come into the picture. CDPs will help marketers move from channel-centric approach to a more customer-centric approach. Again, ties into the fact that a lot of focus will be on customer experience management and not really focus only on the specific channel, right? It is really important to provide good experiences and more, I would rather say, experiences that are unified in a way to customers across, across multiple channels. So that's one thing that we will continue to look at. CDPs will obviously shift from pure play data platforms towards more integrated customer engagement platforms. So the focus, if you really look at the trend, I spoke about customer experience, moving away from channel centric and then talking about customer engagement. So the focus is obviously these days by all marketers on customer engagement. How can you really provide that right experience at the right time, ensure that you're retaining customers, attracting and engaging newer customers. So CDPs will play an important part in that aspect as well. CDPs will expand core capabilities beyond data maintenance and more towards analytical tools and orchestration features. So I did mention about cutting edge tools like AI, ML, and predictive analysis. In fact, if you look at a few of the major platforms, they do provide some sort of predictive segmentation in terms of based on past data, show what would be the right kind of a segment to target or what would be the right customers to target. So, we will see more analytical applications as we move ahead. And CDPs obviously will leverage the exponential growth of new data and new customer behavior due to COVID-19 to their advantage. So, the more data they get, the more data they can churn, the more algorithms that they can apply towards that data, it will help them in a major way. And obviously large solution providers like I mentioned earlier, right? So SAP, Salesforce. I apologize for the technical glitch. So we're back on track, and in fact, I am towards the end of my presentation. So I was talking about large organizations like SAP's, Salesforce, Microsoft, Oracle. All of them will continue to evolve their offerings, and I think standalones or more niche players will pursue mergers and acquisitions, or add or to add more complementary capabilities to larger companies. And we saw this in adtech. As the industry really evolves, as the space tends to get more cluttered, consolidation of the industry typically takes place. So we will. I would say it has already started. I did mention a few examples, but this will continue to be a trend as we move ahead from here. All right. So the next slide is just a couple of screen grabs, just to really give you all, a view of what CDPs really look like, and that is my last slide. So the first screen grab that you see is an overview of the customer identity that really includes, basic information, contact information, activity, a lot of activity, including, unsubscribes, purchases, revenue, and certain channel preferences in terms of, what this particular customer, where, or rather what channel you can use for this particular customer, and certain customer attributes as well. And if you look at the bottom half of it, some companies I did mention use certain algorithms or machine learning, which really shows some predictive data to help build segments and to really show what kind of customers to target. So when I was saying, at the core you have the customer identity or the unified customer view. This is essentially what it looks like. The other screen grab is from a platform that shows which channels, or rather, a sample workflow of a campaign, which includes creatives or kind of channels and in a way, sort of marketing automation in terms of whether there are any delays or what kind of creatives to use. So that's the second screen grab. So I just wanted to leave you all with these details of what a CDP really looks like, or what the platform really looks like. And yeah, that brings me to the end of the presentation. I think I'm on the top of 30 minutes. So thank you everyone once again who have joined. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them right now.
Yes, Fahad, there's a question from Akhil. Just curious to understand the success levels of various players in the CDP space. Are the products offerings that have focused on specific industries, say banking or insurance, more successful?
Right. So I think now see, different organizations, even from the same industry, will have different numbers, right? And one of the reasons, or one of the aspects that we've looked at is CDPs are the only reason why they even gain so much traction is because of the success factors that other competitors were able to witness. So I did mention the likes of Google, Facebook, and they have been able to do a lot of these campaigns on scale, and that's what's important, right? I think smaller players are easily able to set up campaigns and serve those campaigns, and they're able to see good numbers. But when you take that at scale, it's really not easy to get those numbers. Unfortunately, I don't have any numbers with me right now, but yeah, these platforms have been very successful. And if you look at industries, Akhilesh, it's not one or two industries, right? So you have I mean, if I have to take some other names, so there are like companies like Mercedes, Red Bull, Levi's, Pepe Jeans, uh, Domino's, IBM, and these all of these players from multiple industries like CPG, technology, BFSI, automotive, media, healthcare, all kinds of industries are making use of this. So I wouldn't really say that certain industries are making use of it. Obviously, organizations or industries that are more on the B2C side are obviously making more use of it, because that's where you have the chunk or the bulk of customer data. But yeah, I think there's no specific industry that is seeing more success compared to any others. Okay.
From time to time, we need to reinvent ourselves. Today, more than ever, we need to grow and adapt as people and as brands. At Globant, we go beyond our peers. To help organizations embrace a new reality, we are reinventing digital. Millions of people are impacted by the solutions we create. With products built by blending engineering, design, and innovation at scale. With our studios, deep pockets of expertise focused on the latest technologies and trends. Our reinvention starts with each of our Globers. Our global team is multi-talented, multicultural, and extremely passionate. In this new world, we reinvent collaboration through technology. We rely on autonomy and organize ourselves into agile pods. We provide transformation that goes beyond digital. We embrace the power of artificial intelligence to augment Globant's capabilities and promote culture. With the help of AI, we are revolutionizing the way we recruit and retain our talent, the way we code and collaborate. It's a matter of following a vision, a dream. We are reinventing digital so you can reinvent your business. Globant, we are ready.
Thank you for myself, Raghavendra Kulkarni. Thank you for joining the session, and I'm sure that you have enjoyed the previous interesting and knowledgeable sessions. So I'll be covering the topic called geofencing in marketing analytics, which is a part of digital to marketing initiative. And before we start, we'll just give a quick overview on geofencing. After the evolution of smartphone devices, we rely on smartphones for most of our day-to-day activities. The technologies like GPS, RFID help us in completing our day-to-day tasks, whether we need to reach to any places or tracking our valuable assets. Geofencing is just virtual fence where we can track devices coming in or going outside within that fence. Knowingly or unknowingly, we use geofencing technology in our day-to-day life. Some of the real-time examples are cab booking and food delivery. So you must have seen that if you book a Uber ride and if the driver is nearby, then you suddenly get a pop-up message that your ride is here. Same happens to the food delivery services like Zomato. So not for the businesses only, but you can track kids or even track Alzheimer patients, which is made easy with this technology. And with the help of geofencing, we can create multiple user segments that can integrate with our analytical platforms, which will help to track their behavior, content consumption pattern, and interest and actual demography. We will see brief about this technology and uses in further slide. Moving on to the slide 2, which is the agenda. As you can see on your screen, this is the agenda that we are covering up today. Amongst the agenda, we'll be covering the topics as geofencing marketing overview, how geofencing works, and geofencing statistics. So moving to the next slide, which is geofencing in marketing. There are many users of geofencing technology, which we saw, but for marketing industry, geofencing works like a magic. Imagine you are in the mall for shopping and suddenly you see a message of your favorite clothing brand, which outlet is located in the same mall, which is throwing huge discounts. Will it be an interesting fact? So this happens because you are within the range or within that virtual fence of that shop. Using the geofencing technique, you can communicate with your customers if they are within the range of your desired virtual fence. So geofencing gives surprising results to the local advertisers for attracting the customers on time. So imagine that if you are a local vendor or if you have a local mobile shoppy and you are throwing the custom ads to the users which are roaming to that particular place. So you can see the number of customers flowing flowing for the inquiries for your for on your mobile shop. And moving to the next slide, how does geofencing work? So if a person uses geofencing compatible software, then message can be triggered or tracking can be possible. Moving on to, sorry. So here is like, if I will go through below examples in brief, like how geofencing works, consider push notifications. So the same example I can give, which is the Uber ride or food delivery systems, where if the ride is nearby, then they can show you or they can throw some messages that your ride is here or your food is here. Same way, you can target advertisement via multiple channels. So you can target your customers in Facebook ads, in Google ads, or either in YouTube ads as well. So you can track location, exit, and entrance of your desired customers. So you can track smartphones, smart watches, smart devices as well through this technology. So you must have seen the cargoes are delivering goods to one place to another place. So they move all over India, and their owners track the cargoes or geolocation of of that particular cargoes and guide accordingly. So that's how they track their imports and exports. So moving to the next slide, which is geofencing statistics. So here are some interesting statistics you can able to see on your screen. So just to give an overview, the number, this is the worldwide statistics you are able to see on your screen. Just to give an overview, that the number of smartphone users in the world is over 220 million, and there are almost 92% of the smartphones are compatible with the geofencing. That includes iOS, Android, Google, and other smartphone which software systems as well. The average consumer spends 5 hours a day on their mobile device. And one of the interesting fact is 3 out of 4 customers complete an action after receiving a message when approaching a specific location. So some of the statistics are 53% of the shoppers visited a retailer after receiving a location-based message. And 22% of the businesses say that they use hyperlocal targeting to increase their revenue. 71% customers prefer personalized ad experience. 80% of the shoppers use their mobile devices inside the physical stores. So this fact is more important, that if the customer is within your space or within your store, then you can push or throw ads to them and let your revenue increase. 75% of the consumer complete an action after receiving location-based message, and 77% of the consumers will follow through with a purchase of CTA included in the ad. So this stat will give us an overview that how important are the CTAs in your ads. So that's all with my slides. My colleague Vicky will continue for the further slides, and he'll give brief on the same. Thank you for the joining, folks.
So thanks, Arvind, for sharing the information about the geofencing. So before we move ahead, let me introduce myself. So my name is Vicky Progragadi, engineering graduate, and I'm having more than 11 years of experience in the digital marketing, the analytics. So let's continue the topics. So the next slide is how to implement geofencing in your marketing. It's very easy. Like we just need some kind of mobile application, a geofencing, geo location of customer, as well as the one analytical tool through which we can merge all together and create on geofence, and we can track the user behavior, user information. So there are certain parameters that we need to take care while doing the geofencing. So one is like the how you need to know your consumer demographic and the insight. So before we start with the marketing, we need to understand who's your target audience and what are their targeted like their demographics. This will help us for our promotional success as well as to gain the good results for a marketing campaign. And always try to keep it close. When you are creating a geofencing, you need to make it very close rather than making a large geofencing area, because sometimes if you make a large geofencing area, it will not give you that much of good results that you are expecting through your campaign. So always try to make it small geofencing location. Like also put a immediate call to action. Like there are certain area where we are not able to put some kind of good call to action, so that will not give you a good marketing campaign success. So the primary goal is to throw the message to a customer and they will act immediately with the help of your CTA. Again, we also need to respect our consumer privacy. We need to be transparent with them, because and we can also let them know that you're tracking their information, especially when they are using your app, and give them a confidence that even if they are using their app and interacting with you, it's a completely safe. Then there are multiple targeting techniques available in the market for the marketing campaign, and there are multiple tools available. So out of which we can use some kind of marketing techniques like the geofencing, like the context targeting, deep targeting, content targeting, as well as the retargeting. So these are the many options available through which we can customize our user behavior, user data, and create a specific audience segmentation. And I will cover this information in my later slides. Again, there are multiple tools and analytics tool available for the geofencing as well as the data analysis. So we can use those tools and the tools for our campaigns so that we will get a good results for our upcoming campaign as well as the data analysis. So moving toward the next slides. So this is like how the advertiser using geofencing in the marketing. So like there, we have to capture the information of the user, like we need to target the audience. So we need to capture their locations. So there are certain locations we can target. One is like your competitor as well as your own location, because if you have the retail location, you need to geofence your own location as well as your competitor location, so that in case your existing customer go to your competitor store, you can track easily. Then we can use the trade show and the events. So we need to track the trade show location as well as the event location, so that if a customer roaming around, if your audience or your user roaming around this area, they can get a push notification, okay, there is some events happening, and they might be come visit to their location or maybe the event location. Then the street and cross section, this will help your audience or your consumer to guide about the location, streets, and the cross section available within this location. Then of course the individual building as well as the hospital. Sometimes what happens, like you are roaming around malls and immediately you got a notification. So this notification done with the help of this kind of individual building and kind of malls or shop geofencing. Then the household, you make all the addressable. So like each and every location, like nowadays, all the location is available that we will put into the system, and we will make a kind of geofencing virtual fence that will help us to target the consumer. This kind of information is especially used during the COVID pandemic, where the government can easily track the user of the person, the COVID patient, and their containment zone. So moving towards the next slide. So what are the strategies that we need to do for geofencing in marketing? So there's multiple geo strategy that the marketer do. So I will pick one of like some 5 pointers I make over there. So one is make your geofencing at the right size. Make it small as possible. Do not make it large, because if you are making a large geofencing area, it might be impacted and you are not targeting the actual audience that actually interested for your product or your services. So make it small and precise. Then again, the research your target audience. Before do every marketing campaign, we need to know who's your target audience, whether they want your product or not. So based on geofencing, we can create a segment for your audience, right audience, and we can send them a notification or any kind of information so that they can decide whether they wanted to avail your service or not. And through this data available we can see in the analytics, like what are their behavior pattern in the particular location. For example, like if they're residing in a location where we did the geofencing and we send them a kind of marketing campaign. So how they responded on that marketing campaign, and with the help of analytics, we track the information, and those information we use in the future campaign. The third one is like make your ad actionable. Rather than showing the ad, we need to put some call to action so that they will get, okay, what is the next action they can do with this ad. Do not make any simple plain advertisement or do not share any kind of plain advertisement to them. Again, for example, like if you have a brand new shop for a clothing, it's better to ask them for try rather than prove them to buy. Because if they are interested in your product, they try once and then definitely they will convert as a customer and they will purchase your product. So best way to send them a proper actionable advertisement. Again, every marketing campaign or everything is depend on the data that you are capturing. So with the help of geofencing, we create a fence. With the help of marketing tool, we show them a notification. But with the help of analytics, we capture those information about your consumer, like how the consumer behave with your advertisement and what kind of from which location they interact with you. So with the help of this information, you can get the good insight. So review your data on daily basis, because if you are not reviewing your data on daily basis, you might not get the good insight, and sometimes it will delay your results, or sometimes you will not get appropriate result that you actually expecting from the campaign. So try to review your data on daily basis. This is a good practice for all the marketers. Again, the fifth one is like there are multiple target techniques that I already mentioned in the previous slide. So here I'm going on the detail. So first one is like the context targeting. So showing the ad with the relevant content of that page. So let's say there is a news section where there's a local news published over there. So we can put some kind of local advertisement, or maybe the local shop advertisement, or maybe the local offer over there. We can put over there. Similarly, for the content targeting, like the We can target the keyword that the user is searching for a particular location. We can send them kind of information to that particular users. For example, like if they are searching a hotel with a private dining area, so what we can do, we can share them the information, the content or the advertisement with the private dining area, as well as the other information or other facility available with that particular hotel or restaurant. Then the third one is the retargeting tactic. It's a very common and very good targeting practice. So in case a user or customer visited your store, you can show them a notification or maybe any kind of advertisement later on where while they are moving around your store, you will send them a notification, okay, there's a 30% off in the product and you can avail those things. This sale is for the next couple of hours. So they might be shown some interest and they will visit your location or maybe their store. The fourth one is like day marketing. So day marketing is like a targeting techniques where you can target a user on a specific timeline. So for example, there are certain people who are more active in the weekdays and certain people are there more active in the weekends. So based on this geofencing and the day marketing techniques, we can target those users. We can create a multiple segment in the analytics and we can show them a notification or maybe our ad campaigns in the specific day. For the user who are active on the weekdays, we can show them a notification on Monday to Friday. And for the users who are active on the weekends, we can show them a notification or advertisement on Saturday, Sunday. So moving towards the next slide. So after doing all kind of marketing activity and strategy, we need to understand what is the advantage of that geofencing in marketing. So there are very many benefits and for this geofencing marketing for the brand as well as the marketers. Like whether you have the store or you have the online presence. So there are multiple benefits that you can get with the help of geofencing. So first one is you can enhance your local sales. You can target the local customer who are roaming around your local store or maybe your nearby location or any geofence location. You can target whenever they reach to your geofence radius or border. You can send them a notification. They will read those things. So let's imagine like a person roaming around and suddenly he got a notification, okay, there's a 30% off in the Starbucks. And when he saw, oh, there's a Starbucks cafe. So he immediately go and avail this offer. So that's how we can increase our local sales. Then increase the analytics and tools for the metric analytics. So this is the major part. Like when you do the geofencing, there's a multiple marketing tool. We capture the marketing interest of the person, which capture the information, but it's very difficult to measure the information. So with the help of analytics and the geofencing tools, we club this information in the analytical tool and we get the good insight, like what is the user behavior pattern and in specific location, like for example, you have created one pointers where there are 1,000 plus users and they have shown an interest on let's say any specific clothes section, like you can say the summer clothes. So you can target those users by sending a notification with the summer clothes discount and any promotional offer happen on that particular day. So that's how you can target those things. They are certain, you can capture the user behavior, what kind of content they are consuming, how frequently they are moving to your shop. You can touch each and everything with their analytical tool. And you can see there are so many metrics that we can get. Other than just like if you see the analytic, there is a limitation, like you can see kind of radius 10 miles, 20 miles, or maybe the city or a state or maybe the country. But there is no specific area-wise pointer that we can do. We have the pin code, but again, it's very broad level. So we can, with the help of geofencing, we can create a small chunk of we can cover a small area also, like a building also, as well as a 100-meter range area also. Then again, we can provide a personalized information to our customer, like if they like about the news about the sports, we can send them a notification for the sports related activity. Rather than sending the entire news, we can just send them a news related, like the sports related notification. If a person is very foodie, he likes the kind of food, like maybe like the non-veg food or veg food, or maybe any kind of pizzas, or maybe a kind of donuts. So we can send them a notification for that particular specific food items. With the help of this, like the personalization, we can do this thing. And for like some of the marketer, they use this for avoid to spending so much amount on the marketing campaign. So like for the marketer, success is like you can target the right audience with the right time, with the right budget. And if you are targeting person with a proper audience segmentation, you will definitely save lots of money for the marketing campaign. Rather than showing it to random person, we can showcase our ad to specific person who actually intend to buy this product or who already avail or who wanted to avail this kind of service or product. So that's how these are pointers that we can help us to get the good markets and results. And of course, there are certain companies who train the people, like most of the company, if you know, like the insurance company, when the user raises a claim, the insurance company asks their executive to visit that place and inspect the vehicles. But earlier, the people are not going to that particular location; they just do a telephonic conversation and do the process. But now, with therefore geofencing, the company can track whether the person or the inspection person actually visited that those location or not. That's how it will increase their business as well as the good insight they can capture. This tool. Then, of course, we can see the good data for your audience, like how they are interacting with your application. So there was an example like a casino having more than 30,000 users, but like they use their application, but the person is not able to track whether the person is entering the casino or leaving, and what is their behavior, how frequently they are visiting. So with the help of geofencing, he can able to track each and every one, like how frequently they are visiting the casino, what is their times, or how much they spend at the casino, at what time they left, and what is their person is roaming around this location for any daytime or any duration time. So they can track each and everything, and they'll get the good results. They implemented this strategy and they converted their like the business by 30 to 40%. And the seventh point is like you can get the very precise and accurate data rather than like we create a segment in the analytics like a city-wise segmentation or the pin code-wise segmentation. With the help of geofencing, we can create a very precise segmentation and with the accurate data so that it will be visible to only those people. Sometimes you can target people inside a building also. If a person having your application, you can target those person with the help of geofencing. So this is about the benefit of geofencing. So moving toward the next slide. So there's one use case. So what happened, like there's one state, one people created an application which is about the 1 million users. And the application is all about the information of that specific location where it has all the information about their local information, local travel places, historical places, local food, local entertainment content, local employment, everything is present on that particular application. But he's not able to make profit out of it because he's not able to use segmentation. Because if he wanted to push any kind of marketing campaign, it will reach to he need to pick an audience for this particular state or city. He's not able to do any kind of specific location wise, the kind of specific area wise marketing. Again, there's no location based marketing available at that point of time for this. Only generalized metrics available. So he's not able to gain the good insight from the consumer. Then the local campaign performance is very poor. Like they are not able to get the good results. So what we suggested, like we suggested them to use a location-based analytical app and the integrated on that particular application. Then out of which we created 20,000 plus small geofence area, as well as the point of interest, like there's any specific, like the famous buildings, famous location, or maybe famous place that we also covered in that particular geofencing with the help of lat long as well as the radius it captured. Then we create a multiple segment within the analytical tool, in addition to the existing segment, like if you can the analytical segment where always mention the city, region, or maybe the state. We created almost 700 plus geofence, and we created small segment for any specific area wise or maybe a location wise. Through this entire activity, we got a good results. Like we have run over 600 plus surveys where we got 89% response from the customer because they got the customized or maybe the like location-based proper survey. Because if a person is located in this area A, if he got the information got a survey for only A, he will respond. Otherwise, if he send them a notification for the area B, he will not respond. So that's how we conducted a survey and we got the good result. Even these run a small events across the state, the location, and the location participation, like the event participant is increased by almost like 238%. Like earlier, very few people are visited that particular place because they were not aware for this. But with the help of the geofencing, they got a notification before the event start. Even the person is not belong to that city or that location. If he nearby that particular event, he might got the notification. Okay, there's a certain event you can attend and you will get the good insight. Again, technology is increased by almost 200 plus percentage. So these are the, and there are so many like key results we achieved for that particular projects. So this is how all about use cases. For this activity, we use the Adobe Analytics and the mobile marketing tool. And for the geofencing, we use the ArcGIS tool. This is very helpful for create the geofencing, and that geofencing we merge with the Adobe Analytics and mobile marketing. So moving toward the next slides. So here are some big brands and the tools that we can use. So like if you can see the Uber, this is a brand they also use the geofencing to track the driver location, cab status, and like again the tracking the user journey. Also like the what is the consumer daily routine pattern or daily traveling pattern. Then the Walmart, they also send a notification that the order is ready to pick up, because in Walmart you can order and you can go and pick up your order. So you don't need to wait for some long time. You just need to order. They will send a notification that your product is already ready. Similarly for the Honeywell, like they use the technology for the smartphone appliances. So if you are like, for example, if you are using the AC, you are roaming around in the area and you wanted to come back to home. So you can instruct the application that put the AC on, and it will immediately on the AC. And by the time you reach to your entire home will be very cool, and you will get relaxed. You don't need to wait for 10 to 20, 10 to 15 minutes for just your entire premises to be cold. Then the Burger King also using for send alert when the someone is nearby to that location, just like the I mentioned in the Starbucks example. Then again, Starbucks advertises their drink for their prospective customer. If a person who, like for example, he is fond of a cold coffee, so if he visited nearby this their Star cafe, he will get a notification. Okay, there's an offer in the cold coffee. You can avail those offers. So that's how they work. They use the geofencing, and there are certain tools who are available for the market. There are multiple tools. So I just picked the 4 to 5 tools that you can use for the geofencing. So well, this is all about this topic. I hope you have enjoyed this topic. So do you have any question? You can feel free to ask me. So there is one question: is there an impact of growing concern over privacy and geofencing? So see, when the person when you're using any application that's a geofence enabled, we need to ask the consent. Like if we share there's an option like do we need to share your geo location or not? If you say yes, then they can capture your information and consent your privacy. You can definitely keep information. You can stop your location tracking. So that's how you can save your privacy. Anyone question? Yeah, so there are so many geofencing applications. So recently, like if you see there COVID pandemic happened everywhere, and all the state government, they are using the application to track the COVID patient. So with the geofencing application, just like Kavach is the one application, then Lakshman Rekha is one application where they can track easily the COVID patient, whether he is roaming around to that particular location or not, or is there any movement of that particular location. Even the Arabia Seti also using the geolocation. So if you are roaming around the place and you can get a notification, okay, there's some positive patient in your 10-meter, 100-meter radius or 200-meter radius. So that's how we can, these are the applications that you're using. And there are so many applications, like the Domino's application, OLAP application. So there are multiple applications now using the geofencing. Anyone? So thank you so much, guys, for joining this session. Hope you enjoyed the session and you gain lots of insight from all the topics that we covered today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Enlightening us today with your excellent presentation, Raghuvendra and Vicky.
Guys, I'm sure you have entered all your questions for the speakers. If not, please type in your questions in the chat section live chat section, and we'll make sure that all your questions are answered. Are we taking any more questions?
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a limitation of the geofencing. Like for example, let's see, if we want to target the entire city, it's not a problem. It's all available with all the location, all the analytical tool. But if you want to target a specific location, that is where the geofence come into the picture. So there is no limitation. You can target a small city or even the small geofence. Like for example, if you're targeting a that long as A and B, you can target A and B with the 2 meter radius also. No limitation. But the good practice always try to make it as small as possible. Do not make it large. Because when you do the large, you might be like targeting the people who are not at all interested to your application, your offers.
This brings us to the end of the Dmnxt 2021. We will be back here with another Power Pack conference. You can also look forward to our upcoming next series of conferences, such as Design Next, which is on 26th and 27th of November.
In the end, I would like to thank all our speakers for making this day a knowledge-packed digital marketing journey for all of us. And special thanks to all the attendees for joining us today. If you have further queries, you can reach out to us at hello@globant.com. Have a great day, be safe, keep rocking, and stay relevant. Done for